I got a question for you, so-called Christians. The same people who say they believe in the whole Bible, but cherry pick their beliefs inside that same Bible. The same people who believe in false teachings about the same book that they say they believe in. One of those things being what Satan looks like. He doesn't have horns and he's not ugly. Nowhere in the Bible does it say demons or Satan has horns. Nowhere in the Bible does it say Lucifer is Satan's name, because Lucifer is not Satan's name. That was a mistranslation by the translators of the KJV. So the question is, why do you act overly religious and don't even understand the book that you say you read in order to serve Jesus better? People who think certain genres are Christian and certain genres aren't. People who think that Satan owns anything. People who think that certain genres are owned by Satan. Excuse me. That's retarded. That's not biblical at all. Excuse me. All things can be used for good according to God. And all things originally, at least when it comes to creativity, came from God. That being said, when it comes to people like Lecrae or John Keith, or it doesn't matter, any genre, whatever, you can't say that just because they aren't saying Jesus every other line or only quoting Bible verses, that if they don't do that, they're not Christian, because they did the same thing to Jesus. When Jesus literally said, they're going to hate you because they hated me first, this is what he meant. The Pharisees of the time treated Jesus like he wasn't doing anything according to the old Jewish writings. And nowadays, we have modern Pharisees doing the same thing, saying you have to dress a certain way, which is not biblical, saying you have to look a certain way, saying you can't have insert it. It doesn't matter. If it's not an actual sin, then you not liking it doesn't make it a sin. Because these same people will sit here and drink until they're buzzed, but say that marijuana is a sin when marijuana has medical purposes. And then there will be people who smoke weed and say marijuana have medical purposes, but don't smoke weed for the medical purposes. And those be the same people who try to use the Bible. It's the same thing. People want to cherry pick the Bible, call themselves a Christian, judge everyone else. And it only comes from a place of, I don't like it, therefore it's sin. And that's not biblical at all. I've come to a place of realizing that we are so judgmental to the point that we are the ones that Jesus said, just because you call on my name does not mean I know you. It's the people who act overly religious, the people who think you have to be legalistic. Legalism is, excuse me, legalism is a modern problem. It's the same thing as it was back during the time of Jesus walking the earth. It's a modern problem. And it's crazy because the people who are going to have a hard time entering the kingdom of heaven aren't going to be the non-Christians. This is where the lukewarm part comes in. There's going to be the people who claim to be Christian but aren't actually being what God said. The ones who claim denominations, the ones who claim non-denomination, which is still denomination. Obviously, Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, all of that. None of that is Christian. Being a true Christ follower looks very close to Christ. And Christ did not look like the people of the time when it came to how he served who he is, which is God. He looked different. He looked like a man of that time. You know, he didn't have long hair because the Bible doesn't say that. He didn't have long hair. He looked like a man, not a woman. He looked like a man. But he didn't walk around like a over religious person, despite or even though he was God in flesh. And we're supposed to be Christ-like, and we see someone who looks different and we automatically judge them. Or we see someone who's a new Christian and we say, oh, well, you know, they're new, so they might just be doing it for clout, like those, or OF models who come to Christ. Oh, you know, once a worker, always a worker. Or, you know, someone who has tattoos, someone who has piercings, someone who this, someone who that. It's like, how are you supposed to be loving like Jesus would? How are you supposed to sit with sinners when the people who you deem sinners you don't want to sit with? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm speaking from a place of someone who used to be that way, someone who used to judge people like that, being over religious. And that is a big problem. It's not the non-Christians, it's the fake Christians. And it's more so the ones who think they aren't fake. Those are the ones that are going to have a hard time accepting Christ as who he is, because they don't accept people like Christ would accept them. So, yeah, I don't know.